left a lasting impact on every one of us that listened to him. I was not worried when he was going because I knew he was coming back today and we'll have more time with him. So I'm sincerely very happy that he's here with us. So we are very honored to have you, and we know that you're a blessing to our generation. And we are so grateful to you for please taking time off to come and talk to us. And please allow us to ask you questions so that we can do as you are doing, if not better. We know to overtake you will be so many years ahead. So I want to call you up, sir, straight. Please, let's rise up to welcome him.
Please sit down. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I will try to move around. Is it son of the soil of the estate? But I was still missing my way. Google is not reliable at times. I was using Google Map. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm always delighted to, talk about this thing that I have been doing for many years. And so it is for me a delight to be here. Like you said, it's going to be two parts. I'll be talking, thereafter we go into question and answer section. I'm also aware, unlike last Friday, that I have time. Okay. And so we'll be discussing what I call possibly the possible headaches of managing microfinance bank. Headaches, if you like, challenges or whatever, and also how we can deal with those things. And during the question and answer question, I may also fall back on some of our experiences looking at that. I want to begin by saying that when you talk about inclusive finance, that is finance for everybody, try as much as possible to give to everybody. It's not a new thing. It has been the center of discussion, for many decades. People were talking about, realizing the power of money, And then they realized, this is very important when it comes to well-being, addressing poverty. But unfortunately, like most good things, they do not get to everybody. And therefore, how do we get it to everybody? And in the 60s and 70s, attention was directed at what they call rural finance. The understanding then was that rural people, rural economy, mainly agriculture, was not sufficiently powered by money or credit, if you like. And also for those who were also concerned about poverty, they also think that rural areas were the epicenter of poverty. That's why you say rural poverty. But the reality today is that things have changed. You have real urban poverty as well. So if you therefore understand that we need to put money in the rural economy, and we need to also put money to address poverty, rural communities were therefore attractive to development experts. And they tried to use always, but agricultural cooperatives was one of the ways they used. Awolowo did use it so admirably well to power the economy of the Western region, which actually, I started my life as a cooperative officer, and I went to the after graduation on the field, and they sent me to Federal Cooperative College, LA Ibadan, a well-resourced place, fantastic. And what it is essentially was that, okay, put farmers together, they mix this thing, and from that pool, you give them to run. And he did it so well that supported it first with a very well-resourced college, and supported it with what we then know then as a cooperative bank. The cooperative bank was essentially a bank for that. I think when they commercialize it to become commercial, and then they begin to have some issues. So cooperatives were regarded And of course, the banking sector in Nigeria wanted to try it. Some of us can remember, 70s, there was this rural banking program for the banks. And the central bank then required that commercial banks should open some rural, they were mandatory number, certain number. And they try. And they did. Some of them were regional banks, like New Nigeria Bank was like every local government headquarters or district then, division they call them then, has a branch of New Nigeria Bank. The same thing with Wayman and this, I think, cooperative banks. The big one we're supposed to, but for the challenges of funding in rural area, most of those commercial banks were ready to pay fine, fine by the central bank, than to open those banks. So these were some of the attempts. And so, but the reality is this, was that those attempts were not very successful. They were not sustainable for many reasons. The cooperatives today are obviously not, doing what they should do. And like I said, some of the commercial banks were ready to pay fine. If the central bank says you open 5 banks, if you don't open, central bank will say, if you don't do this, we will fine you this. So those banks were ready to even pay those fines than to go to the rural area to establish. Also, it is the failure of this that gave rise to microfinance, which actually was a more or less the new part of it. Because I always want to emphasize that when you say microfinance, we actually say the modern microfinance. Because in Africa, there are stories to show that even in the 15th centuries and all that, there was also evidence of arrangement of where traditional, ordinary people have been putting something together. We have your Asisu and whatever it is. But the modern microfinance came as a result of experiment or an action research project that was carried out by one Professor Yunus, Muhammad Yunus, American trade econometrician with a PhD, and he came back to Bangladesh. Bangladesh, obviously, in the 70s and 80s were known for flood, perennial floods, coup, military coup, and of course, poverty. Henry Kissinger, the then Secretary of State, called Bangladesh a basket case. And so he came back to Bangladesh, and he was teaching in the University of Chittagong. Chittagong is in the south of Bangladesh. And unfortunately, he confessed that he could not relate the poverty that he was seeing with the elegant econometrics modeling of poverty. And so he decided to drop his chalk and decided to put little money together and started what we call Grammy Bank, and for ordinary women and poor people. At the time, Grammy Bank in around 2000 was a combination of, in size, UBA and Union Bank and all that. They have a 25-story building in Dhaka, Bangladesh, become the famous. So that's about 40 years into that, because he did it, more than 40, he did it 76. So more than 40 years into that, over the years, the idea of putting money in the hands of ordinary people and expect first proper utilization and second full repayment began to spread. And so that is like the background. So what therefore we need to also understand microfinance. Microfinance generally is the provision of small units of financial services to low-income people who are usually, I think this is important, who are usually excluded from the mainstream financial system. So ordinary people, we know why. People talked about collateral, because asking poor people to come and bring collateral is like asking somebody to bring what, in fact, it does not even have. And so the ordinary people were excluded, from financial. If you look at it, we don't need to do survey to know that the poor people don't, the financial sector, the big banks don't look at them. Even those institutions that were put together primarily for them, rich people benefit in the name of the poor people. e.g., People's Bank. People's Bank was supposed to work. At the time, Lapo and People's Bank was set up at the same time. And People's Bank at that time was the most capitalized poor financial institution in the world. And when they were giving out 500 naira, we were giving out 200 naira loan. I mean, when they were giving 5,000, we were giving 200, 400 naira loan. So they had a branch in Ogwashiku where I started. This is the definition. Putting money, that is provision of small financial services to low-income people and their businesses or micro, small, and medium enterprises that are usually excluded from the financial mainstream banking system. And so, for me, in 2005, I have been doing extensive work, to talk, and apart from managing Lapo. For me, I try to look at microfinance like this, and in practice, what it is. And it's gradually been asserted. It was in 2005 I put it together. It's a set of elastic institutional structure and procedures, I will explain, by which appropriate financial services are delivered to low-income people and owners of micro enterprises on a sustainable basis. That's in practice, it is not, microfinance is not micro banking. So the structure and the processes, the way you deliver it must be elastic. Elastic in the sense that it must be flexible. It must be, flexible and reflect the peculiarities of the poor people and their micro businesses. And it must be a range of financial, and it must be sustainable. There are lots of programs that have not been sustainable. Just give it to people and say, thank God that we're giving you money. I know that the women will dance and all that, and then that's the end. But what I mean by institutional elastic one is this. Is that, take for example, I want to tell you this. Ordinarily, we thought that if you give a loan to businesses, they have a term loan, they pay back. And we felt, look, if you look at the type of these businesses these people operate, micro businesses, don't bother about term loans. Ask them to be paying small. We call it installmenta. That reflects their own, what I would call their own cash flow pattern, to be able to do that. We also felt that to be able to make it sustainable, why not put them into group? That's what microfinance says. But things have changed and we have individual, even in Lapo. That at the beginning, I'm just giving you some of these steps. What is the group? Group will, people come together, give them money, and then come and be paid together. If there's any issue, support yourself. That's what many people support, a sort of peer pressure and peer support. But for me, it's also the issue of sustainability. Let me demonstrate this. If the first thing you realize that microfinance is about a small unit of businesses, and then in terms of cost of delivery is extremely high. Then you use aggregation, that is group. How do you do that? If I were to give loan to 400 persons, and I put them in one group, no, I didn't put them in a group, I'm dealing with them individuals. So if I want to make collection, or I want to do any inspection, I want to do anything, I will visit 40 locations. Is it not so? Individual. But if I put them in group, and I want to relate with them, I want to do collection and know that they're in a group, I will visit one location. That is their group location. You see, that has financial implication. So those are some of the features, Another feature was also that we put together then was, we realized that these people ordinarily are not very, I would say education, I will put it this way, in terms of business management, they don't have that skills, they don't have that. And I will tell you how, again, that is a challenge for you and for microfinance. And therefore we came and said, okay, to begin with, organize what we call pre-loan training. Before you give them loan, do some little training. The training is not that you are going to give the certificate of MBA. I know there is just one to make them know who you are, what you are, to your processes, your procedures. And in the early days, we wanted them to know that LAPO is not a charity. It's not a church. It's simply organization put together to say, you know that you cannot go to UBA or First Bank to take loan, but we are going to intermediate. We're going to stand between you. Get this money with our right hand and give it to you with our left hand. But you will have two obligations. Obligation number one is that you must use the money well. And of course, the follow-up obligation is that you must repay the money. So, those were some of the things we did. And of course, the pre-training know also what we call basic business management, micro. We're not going to give you all those theories. We are going to tell you basic thing about how to manage your business, especially money. I remember then we can put water in our hands like this, put water in this pocket, and say money is like this. If you don't, what will you do? So in the process, you ask them, what do you mean by doing this? I remember there was a year we were faced, that was around 94, so we were forced to, in our card, that's passbook, to write at the back that Christmas is not everything. You have school fees to pay in January. Our women save, they call it save, they save, but Christmas, break the thing. I would say, so we write it there. We also said then that, look, if your woman, your friend selling in the market, you are friends. He said this uncle or this daughter I want to marry, and they said they brought Ashebi, and they said you are going to pay small. Whether you pay small or not, it's your own money. Please, if you don't need it, you don't need it. So those are some of the things that we have to put to tell them at that time. Now, for us to get to where we are, we need to understand what I also, in my book, Issues in Microfinance, I tried to also analyze, came up and said, there will be 3 phases of development. I told you the story of how it started by Professor Yunus. And what has happened then? There have been 3 major phases or stages of development of microfinance. The first one was the period of feasibility or possibility. We call it the period all of us were trying to prove that it is possible to take loan, put it in the hands of a poor person, and expect the person to use it well and make repayment complete with interest payment. Mostly before, even the cooperatives, the ways people were using, all these development expertise that were helping, and they turn it to assistance. Whether you call it assistant, you're helping, assisting. And so there was this connection of charity. There was this, that was all. So when World Bank people will come, and all that, everybody's talking about poverty. There's one book they call the loss of poverty. Everybody I'm saying, so we're trying to prove that it's possible. If you want to prove something, that means there's something that this is not possible. So we are trying to make it possible. That was the first phase. And so, what were the things that defined that phase? The first thing that was that the product, that is this, they were giving, was only credit. We call it mono credit. Today microfinance is doing savings, everything, almost everything. At that time, it was only credit. And that was why microfinance at that time was called microcredit. Okay, it was one product. 2, those who were funding it were donors. Those people that we have good hearts, we have good heart for foundation, all those kind of foundation. They were the people providing that money. And most of the practitioners who were really trying to do it were almost all of them no profit. They were NGOs. LAPO was an NGO. Okay? At that time. Then, at that time, we never pay attention to financials. You know, profitability, quality of. They were, when you say performance indicator for us then, you know, is this. How many poor women are you reaching? That's number one. How poor are the poor people you are reaching? You know, that was very, how poor are the poor people you are reaching? Because we realize at the back, even People's Bank made that mistake, that when you say you are giving something for poor people, and you didn't set the criteria to select those poor people, the rich people will benefit in the name of those poor people. And so in Bangladesh, Professor Yunus, he said, in Bangladesh, they said, if a family has more than 1/4 of an acre, that family is no longer qualified. It's no longer very poor. You know, in Bangladesh, land is an issue. Bangladesh almost have the same population like Nigeria, but the land mass is about 1/4 of Nigeria. It's the most densely populated countries in the world. Okay, land was an issue. But Nigeria, land was not an issue. So what did God do? You know, we came up and said, look, I think we should use composite indicators. Some of them were very funny. If your husband in your family, because we're focusing on women then, if your husband is in a regular employment, whether messenger, manager, anywhere, you cannot benefit from LAP. If you're a university graduate, you cannot. You cannot. If you're business, and we design, and we're using that. Funny one, the women. If you have Hollandese, you know, men, we don't know the difference between Hollandese and whatever, but the women, they know. So if you have Hollandese, you are not going to be. If your family lives in a flat, you are not. So we set a criteria, and we spend so much time, that was all of us globally, how to design those things. We design score, education. If you didn't go to school at all, 12, you get 12. If you go to half primary school, 10. If you go for 8. If you go to if you are a graduate, that means 0. And then if you are living if all the family living in one room, you get the maximum. And then you reduce and all that. And then at the end, we score. What we were trying to do was that put money in the hands of the people who are really poor. And we focus on women. And the reason we focus on women then was also very simple. In our society, we do what sociologists call hypogamy and hypogamy. But what it means is this, is that men marry up, men marry down, and women marry up. I will explain this. If you put 10 women couples together, and you are going to have almost 8, if not more, that where in terms of socioeconomic status, let's use education, another thing, the man is ahead of the woman. I don't know whether I made this point. You know, men are likely to be higher most things than their wives. And so if you take that arrangement to the lowest level of the society, that is ordinary poor people. So if you therefore see a poor man coming, you'll be sure that he's a husband of a poorer woman. Are you following it? And so we have to face that area. Okay. So then by 90s, after 90s or so, it has been proven that it is possible to put money in the hands of ordinary poor people and expect them to make payment, and they pay. We have been proving, we have proved the feasibility. And the question arose, what is the sustainability? You see, it's possible that you can do something. It's possible to do something. But is it sustainable? You know? And so, what were the issues then? We started to include some other financial services like savings. So that was the time microcredit became microfinance. Now other things now. And so that time funding, donors were no longer, the funding. They were no longer the only one. So smart European companies, some of my friends, Belgium and others, they came up and started setting up company to give loan to microfinance institution to do their business. So realizing at that time too, the first phase, feasibility, were mainly pilot projects. All of us were small. Then in sustainability, we were putting a plan for expansion. Remember, most of us were pro-poor. That is, we're working against poverty. And so based on the fact that if you want to have impact on poverty, do everything to reach a large number of poor people. Somebody will jokingly say that maybe the other alternative way is to kill all the poor people. But that was why. So we are now planning to grow. And so for you to grow, then the smart guys in Europe set up and then be giving us loan. Because they know that it's possible. It's feasible. And so they start giving us loan. So institutions were getting bigger. And of course, we begin to look at beyond how many women are getting this money. And we begin to say, what is your profitability? We begin to look at those things we look at today. Calculate ratios and all that. So that was at that time. And then now, after it has sustainable, yes, everybody knows it's sustainable. By 1990, we're already making profit. We're already accumulating our surpluses and all that. And so, then in the turn of the century, we move into the commercialization phase. That is where we are today. No, that is commercialization phase. So, some of us who are old school in the industry, because some of us, I told you, I have been a part of this story, this trend. I'm just telling you now, active. So I belong to the past. That's why when I stepped down 2 years ago, I was so happy. I said, I'm becoming a cog in the wheel of this organization. Because my thinking has. Because for my thinking, microfinance as it is practiced today has taken the soul of microfinance from microfinance. The soul. What do I mean? For more than 30, the soul of microfinance was about helping poor people. About assisting, give them facility to do what they want to do and all that. But today it's so commercialized that people are now looking at more of profits than any other thing. And it's not bad. It's a march of development. It's moving. But for me, I got to a point I said, if I begin to look back and think back, I will be a cog in the wheel of progress. I may not believe. I think that the business today is over-commercialized. But it's still good. There are good parts of it. No? What it is today, somebody sit down, international, they invest. In fact, most international guys, they have their office in Germany, in France, in all that. They set up international. They come to Nigeria and have, not Nigeria, Africa. You have international microfinance here. They have in Ghana, they will just, Of course, we are tackling them. For the past 10 years, we also set up in Sierra Leone. And we are working with IFC to do more African countries. And everybody, African Development Bank, who also fund us, they are so excited that we are having indigenous African microfinance that we want to working across Africa. So there is the commercialization phase that we are, dominated by investors, dominated by regulation. Now banks are the central banks all over the world, and they're dominated by technology, dominated by several products. Now, you have all products dominated by competition. Okay, so this is the phase that we are, And someone is even saying that the next phase is going to be the phase of digitalization. That's every go to digitalize, and that you don't need to meet with the people. Because the soul of microfinance, I said before, was actually intensive interaction and doing other things. I would say you support them. You know, you do. I always tell people that in commercial banks, their customers are usually known by their numbers, their account numbers. The first thing they ask you, so is your account number. Okay. But in typical microfinance at the beginning, you will know the people by their names. You know them. They are human beings. They are not account numbers. That's why we added health program with them. We do a lot of support them with other things. Their children, scholarship for their children, and all that. You are now saying you are going beyond just what is your account number to what is your name as a person. Now, I think we've looked at the background and the trend where we are, and the trend where we are today. The good thing about commercialization is also that it's able to reach a large number of people now. You have much money. When we're depending on donors, you will write proposal, you will do everything. They will say they are reviewing. After they have reviewed for how many months and all that, they come back and tell you that we are sorry. Especially during Abacha, they will say thank you. We are not working in Nigeria. And then those who are a bit charitable will thank you for your good work you are doing. That will not change anything. But commercial loans, IFC can give you $5 million if you do well. And then is reaching a large number of people. Now, let's move to the next one. What are the expectations of microfinance? The expectation of microfinance. As I've said before, the general expectation for me is ability to deliver a range of financial services to ordinary people and doing so in an efficient and sustainable manner. That's the expectation. But what are some of the specific expectations? If you run like your bank, what are your expectations? The expectation, first of all, is to be able to deliver a range of financial services, and we want to do it in an efficient manner, and of course, we want to be sustainable. We want to make profits to be there. If not for anything, you want to make profit to at least to be able to deal with inflation. To make provision for inflation and few other challenges. But a specific one is that I think at the board meeting, you want good portfolio quality. You want no default, or there's no default. Somebody said 0 default rate is fantastic, but the reality is that you can't lend money without some default. And so all lenders therefore do is to make sure, do everything in place to see how do you mitigate default. The second expectation is that you want to be financially sustainable. Look at your finance. Their balance sheet is growing. You want to look at it. This third expectation is that you want to see that you have products that you are giving, responsive products that services you are providing. And of course, you also want to reach a large number of people. That is, you also want to do volumes. Large number of people could lead to volumes ordinarily. And so these are the expectations. Good portfolio quality, financial performance, products that you are giving, to expand your reach to more customers. I think those are the major something. Of course, the other expectation is for people to also say you are doing well. Thank you so much for doing well. All right. Now, what are the hurdles to these expectations? I don't know whether the other expectation, maybe during answer and question you can. Those are for me as some of these expectations. The hurdles that would get there. Hurdle number one in microfinance is delinquency. I think that people will take loan. When people want to take loan, they can call you, they can come, they smile, when they have taken loan, you want to, when you want to take loan, the face will be like this. When you say, they'll come and pay. In fact, let me tell you, it's the virus. I don't know whether it's HIV own or which. It's deadly. It's more deadly than HIV. It's more deadly than COVID. And so it's the virus that if afflicts lending institutions. Most lending institutions may fall down, may collapse for many reasons, but the real something is when people are not paying. That's the biggest challenge. That's the biggest hurdle for you to have portfolio quality, the biggest hurdle to have financial sustainability and all that. And unfortunately, do you know that the thing is that who are the victims? The first are some of the investors who put money there. You will not be able to get your returns as you should be. It's not only you, the investor, even the staff. Because a lending institution where the portfolio is so bad, the staff are demoralized. They are not happy. You know. And so, even eventually if the thing collapses, even the people, ordinary Nigerian people, I tell people that the people that's probably, when the people's bank collapse, the victims are ordinary Nigeria more than the managers. Some of them, the former managing director they deployed from public service has gone back. Since she has rose to the rank of a PS. So that was not concerned. But the Nigerians that were deprived of opportunity to go take money, use, take, and use. Those were the people that were deprived. So what are the causes? What are the things we should highlight? The first thing is that it's in our environment. We have, as a people, we have a poor credit discipline, as generally, as Nigerians. I think it has, I don't know, but it has to do with probably our approach to things. You know, generally, maybe the affliction of the oil boom. You know, before the oil boom, every typical Nigerian was modest. You know, you say, like I was talking here on Friday, you know, they tell you that good name is better than go. All those kind, no, do what to say. But I think after the oil boom, our expectation then, like I also said that day, if you can own a motorcycle, or even what your hand can reach, you know. But I think after oil boom, we now say all things are what? Possible. You see somebody who's just, and in the process, he gets your money. He's using that one to stretch his hand to that something. And some of them, as they have gotten your own, and they will forget they have even taken, they are looking for another place to go and get money. Generally, I think we have. I have not seen that in Asia. When it comes to credit discipline in Asia, you don't need to force people, especially at the bottom or something. They feel that they have obligation. At times, when people take loan here, the big people, top people, and ordinary people, they don't think they have obligation to make repayment. That's the big something. The second thing is also, how do you recruit your borrowers? The people that want to borrow, how do you analyze them? You know, I used to tell some of my colleagues, the woman is my landlady. It's not doing anything. Yes, you they work for Lapo. I want to join Lapo. It's not. Because if it's, first of all, if you don't utilize money well, you don't expect it. If you are not doing anything, you just use it to do. And of course, loan appraiser is also very, very important. How do you appraise the loan? Somebody wants to take loan. Well, it's not about, you know, the thing, I think that's why commercial banks still have some problem. Despite all people put collateral, and then you see, it's to look at the business very well. You know, and look at it and say, if you put this one, what will this? And make sure that the business is fine. You won't believe it. I have come to see that women that are really in difficult situations, I'm talking of our Lapo experience, who are difficult, widow and all that, they see the loan as if it is something for my own life. It's like a man that is drowning and he see one. They hold it, they use it where they come back. Some of them have been taken for 30 years. They have gone. They will tell you the story of how they do this. I be a one that say this small loan. They say no. The thing they accumulate, they have. So, but some of these other people that are beat up like this, they will first tell you the money is not enough, and when by the time you get to pay, it become a problem. So appraise them very well. Because the understanding we also have is that whether your loan will perform or not is established at the beginning, the time you are giving. So, you do some untrained staff. Either some people are not trained staff or not motivated. And that was a problem of most microfinance bank. You get a staff, you put her in a small one salary that you know it is not when it's not sustainable. Not sustainable it will not be enabled. This salary will not enable your staff to live as a human being. And then you are putting millions, is taking decision on millions in her hand. Yeah, no. And so that could be, taking care of staff. The other one is untrained. Many people may not. We agree many years when we started microfinance, I didn't do it in school. So all my staff, even today, the CEO and all that, who are left behind, that was the first time they were doing microfinance. Their first job was Lapo, working in Lapo. And so we have to invest heavily, very early in training. Today, if you go to Benin, we have a huge Lapo Institute. It started as a training unit, and today it's a molotechnic. 3 years ago, we got accreditation by National Board for Technical Education. And in fact, we worked for 2 years together to develop the curriculum for microfinance for OND and HND, which polytechnics are now using on microfinance. And then they now accredit. We do HND, OND, HND, microfinance, banking and finance, accounting and business admin, they just added. So we invested in training. So training may not be big one. Just like part of say I come like this. In Lagos here, we have a learning center where most microfinance send their people to come and train. It's at, I want to do commercial. It's at this Keja Central Business District. But the truth is that it's going to be in one floor at Maryland. There's our head office coming up in Maryland there. And so what I'm saying, training is important. Of course, fraudulent staff, they cause this delinquency. They know deliberately. In fact, if you are not careful, they can do self-disbursement. What is self-disbursement? You get a borrower, your friend, and who was your best man, and say, come and just take this. I will pass it through. When we pass it to you, you give it to me. That money will not come back. So there could be fraudulent responsible for that. And of course, if you don't get it right, but that was the problem of most microfinance bank when they started. The policy came 2005. We made so central bank, we have to Lapo, I have to move around the country, talking about it. And I told them that is the position. Microfinance, in most cases, is not microbanking. Because most of those people that started Greenfield Hunting, they were some of the assistant general manager in commercial bank and all that. They just left, come and set and other. And so it based on this fact that when they come in, it based on the fact that if you don't know what you do what you know. So if you don't know what to do, you do what they know. They come to microfinance, they don't know. Then they do banking, they know in microfinance. And most of them, they had problem. So that's part of the model was wrong. Number 2, hurdle, high costs of operation. People say, the interest rate of microfinance is high. I think that they must have told you your bank. I think so. Your must be higher than commercial banks, is it not? Yes, don't be ashamed of it. No. Again, if you see a chapter of that my book, where one young man rose against us, and I came in, I think it's 2008 or so. I was invited to Belgium. One of our partners who lend us. So they are doing AGM. Let me come and speak to them. They gave me 15 minutes, and I spoke to her and all that. And then one lady, the wife of who was going to fight us, hey, what is the interest rate and all that? And in that book, I summarized my position. That's my position I want to summarize for you now. The first thing is that microfinance is expensive because it's expensive to do microfinance. The way to just explain this is this. If you were to give 10 billion in a commercial bank, and probably they can do that to about 8%. At worst, they can do it for 15. Maybe some people may less than 1 billion. Some people obviously will take more than 2 billion. When the bank gives us money, it's 2 billion, 5 billion, and all that. So you say that's about maybe 7 persons to take 5 billion. That is 7 persons to relate with, 7 accounts to manage, 7 persons to follow up. But if a microfinance is going to do that as about 500,000 and all that, 10 billion, you know how many people, the borrowers that way. And for us in Lapo way, we tend to go down. You are talking about 100,000, 70,000. You are going to be talking thousands of people to take 10 billion, 100 something billion. And that means that you will have high number of accounts to manage, people to relate with, and all that. That has implication for cost. And so the second also possibility is that it's difficult for microfinance bank in Nigeria to get deposit that they can use, because deposit is the major something. The banks, the commercial bank in Nigeria, their loan they give out, there is the total loan in their portfolio, in their balance. It's always lower than the deposit they have. I think Emefiele have been trying to push them to no. And that means you take interest rate pay interest rate of 2%, 1%, 3% to deposit. Then you can afford to give that loan at even 10% when they are now giving 15 and 16. You can see what it is. But in most microfinance banks, they don't have that benefit. Except microfinance banks that have relationship with some institution, if like a church. So the church have account with the bank, and then they have deposit. Why? A typical Nigeria today that has 50,000 and he want to save it is looking at GT, going to Zenith Bank, going to First Bank. But if that person wants 100,000 loan, he's looking for a microfinance bank. Is that not true? So where would the microfinance get the money? Why am I telling you that we borrow loan money and money? That's why we borrow money. That, if for instance, your loan assets is like this, and your deposit is, there's a gap already, then you have to look for loans. IFC, International Finance Corporation, all these sharp guys in Europe to come and cover. Why do you go to sharp guys in Europe? These people, this our commercial bank, you go to them. The first thing we ask you, where's your collateral? Huh? I give you an example, and I try to recommend that to some people in Edo State leadership that they didn't understand it. In 2006, Lapo won an international award, Grammy Foundation Award for Excellence in Microfinance. And this ceremony was done in Columbia University, New York. After they the normal talk and all that, and then they say presentation. They gave me the plaque and gave me $10,000 as price, cash price. Okay. And the guy that gave it to me was the vice chairman of the foundation, Paul Morris. Paul Morris is white American, but born in Malawi, I think, yes. And then he has that, African touch. And then he was at number 3 or number 4 in Microsoft. He resigned. He retired there. That is they have money, a lot of shares, something. He has money. He took me aside and said, Godwin, you have done this now what can I do for you to do better? I said, I need money. But in Nigeria, you go to bank, they will say, bring your collateral. And we don't have. Can you give me a credit, a guarantee? He executed a guarantee from Citibank. And that was what we take to Citibank here. And they will give us 800 million. And then from there, we use it in Standard Charter for every year, 800 million. Of course, in December, I will write a small note to Paul and say, Paul, thank you so much. He will read back and say, God, I can do more. But what was important is this. Because we never defaulted, that guarantee was never touched this morning. And the second implication was that it enabled us to employ more people. So American who was just there, putting a guarantee, was creating opportunities to employment for Nigerians. And I talked to some people in Benin were running. They said, you are asking job creation. You ask graduates to come and be planting flowers. The guy will agree because he has been looking for a job for 5 years. No, so after about 1 year of planting flower, paying him 10,000 that time, he will ask himself whether that is what he has come to do. I said, come to Lapo and say, Lapo, you have, at that time we had 3,000 staff. God, you have this. What can we do for you to increase it by 1,000? I said, give me a letter, give me a guarantee to First Bank. If they give me a loan of 2 billion, they will write an MOU. MOU will be that I will recruit, this thing will enable you to recruit 500 or 1,000 persons. And 80%, minimum of 80% of those people should be from Edo State. You have created a job for 800 people without putting your money. So, but they don't listen to those type of things. An American was creating job for Nigerians because I told you, it's a simple arrangement that we made. And so, what was the fair thing? He did it for about 4 years. And then, finally, the arrangement was so that it would get to a point between us and Standard Charter, we should be able at that time have our own arrangement in such a way. And then we did that. They increased it for 1.5 billion, and then they have that something still going on. So what I'm saying in essence is that microfinance has to go and borrow. And so, first of all, add the high cost operation plus the interest rate you are paying on loan. Why should your loan to ordinary people not be high? They will tell you, I say, the only way you can make it high, go or arrange for microfinance in Nigeria to where they can borrow low. All this money they are putting everywhere, I don't know what they call it. Put it in a pool and say, microfinance, come and borrow. Borrow at 2%. Don't give it more than this percent. You'll be helping poor people. So cost of operation is one of the challenges of my. Then number two hurdle is staffing. I've talked sorry about it. In fact, what motivated us to work for 2 years with the National Board for Technical Education to develop that curriculum for OND, HND, microfinance was the fact that there was no university doing it. There was no anyone I discussed with some of them in the university do it from, there's this something like it's a fine thing to do. A nice thing to do. And they will talk and talk, nothing will happen. And I said, long ago, I've moved away from nice thing to do than doing something, do it well. And so nobody followed. But now, so that people can, they have even given us that we can do online now. For many people to learn this art of microfinance, staff, so that you don't need to invest like Lapo invested in facility and all that to be able. We need banking is, again, I want to repeat, it is not micro banking. It's much more than that. And so, staffing is a major issue. Some of them are, just not trained. Some of them could be, but the other one is liquidity challenge. I don't know. I think those who are managing the bank, they know the liquidity ratio in Nigeria. It's 20%. Okay? And all that. And many banks are struggling with it. And all that. Liquidity challenge. not having enough fund. And I have tried and tried as a person and all that to say, let us create liquidity. Because I was involved intensely in the formulation of the Nigerian microfinance policy. I spent 5 days in Central Bank 1 year, Monday to Friday, to review, to work on it. We're able to smuggle what we call microfinance development fund. What we wanted it to be is that there's a fund the microfinance can take cheaply and give. They wango it, and when they were going to implement, they call it microfinance, micro medium enterprise development fund. It was 22 billion. Then after some time, the governors were now taking from the money. Lapo took one, we pay 1 billion, we pay. A governor will take, and then they were nothing came, and then said, just abandoned it. Are you following me? Because when Jonathan, I think during one day, he called all of us, me, Governor Akpabio and all that, they said they were going to some ceremonial disbursement. We went there, shake Jonathan and shake me. I look at the face, look, congratulations. They gave me an empty envelope. But that is ceremony. That's what we very got is. But when I say we need that, how can I go and borrow from UBA and they come and give to people? What will they, it will be expensive for them and may not even be enough. Anywhere challenge, anywhere microfinance has done well, whether in Bangladesh, India, whatever, they have such arrangement where microfinance can borrow and make some. Number 5, internal control challenge. I think that is for any business, but it's even worse for microfinance. How to make sure that you make sure that everything is okay. And the other final one is the nature of your customers. I've said it before. Ask any of your customers to bring business plan, and they will know. Ask somebody, even those who have medium, I'm not even talking about micro now, even medium. They say, this and all that. And they first tell you what's business plan. And then by the time what will come as a business plan, as a lender, you cannot put your money there. I tell people, you are lender, so we are in the same something. Lenders are looking for where to put money, to give out money. Is it not? That's where you make money now. In fact, disbursement is part, I told you, it's a part of our indicators. How much? And we're looking. But if we don't give you, that means you are not prepared. That's when Nigeria say, oh, they don't give money. I'm mentoring a lot of young people in business. Oh, they don't give money. I say money is not your problem. The first thing, put your house, put your institution in. Once your business is okay, lender will come and worry you to come and take money. So, but most of our clients don't. They are not low ready. That's the truth. They are not. And some of them, our attitude too, when the moment some of them are doing well, a typical Nigerian doing well is to tell the other people that I'm doing well. Level has changed. And that way of proving that level has changed is actually eating the business, making the business. So, unlike Asia, all these other people, some of these other, you see how they see money, they use money. And I got an Indian to be the chief finance officer for LAPO 2010 to 2016. 6 years. I know. That if you, I learned things for him. I thought I'm this. I learned it for him. He never changed his suit for. I don't sort about. I don't do that. I think he didn't buy new one. And it was, they are very prudent. I went to Hyderabad with my head of operations 2003 or 4. And, to go and see another, at times it's also important to go and see what others are doing. And the guy they assigned to us, he speaks English because school outside the country, so his accent is easily. We were driving to the airport. He said, that car at the front, look at it like his car. I said, no. He said, sir, is there that car? It looks like that. Do you have a car? He said, yes. I said, why do you come to the office with motorcycle? Because the 5 days he was saying was, he said they have realized that a gallon of fuel will take a motorcycle for 20 kilometers of mile. I don't know how. But that same gallon will take a car for 12 or something miles. So it's only when they want to go to dinner, with the wife, the children, and the carry. I look at Miss Elijah was by my side. I say, you hear what in this one I talk? You hear what in this man I talk? Aggregate that individual something, aggregate it as a nation, and see what surplus can be. What is the essence? Why? That's why we Christians, we should realize that. How did prosperity, if you call it capitalism, call it so, how did prosperity came up in Europe? If in America, it's European that took it to America. How? Why? It's simple. It's a Christian ethics. I think some of you know that Max Weber did the analysis, and he came up with a thesis, I think his PhD thesis, Protestant Ethics and the Rise of Capitalism in Europe. He linked the rise of capitalism to Christian ethics. What were the ethics? Hard work, see thou a man. 2, prudence, moderation. And so he analyzed and said that if you work hard and you are prudent, the equation is work hard, low expenditure equals to accumulated capital. It's a simple something. And you can try your lifestyle. I say, I want to cut down. So that's there. But our own. Now, how to prove that the level has changed. And that affects business. So let us look at, I will finalize by looking at success imperatives. What are some of the things to be done? I would say that the first in place is sound corporate governance. Corporate governance. Making sure that you get the right board together, put the right board, the right size, skills of board. Of course, the involvement of the board. Board. I know that your banks, people attending regular board meeting, not necessarily like one microfinance bank I went to. Every month they were meeting. Every board meeting, every month. And then obviously they were paying a sitting allowance. That's not. So, board involvement of the board, the processes and policy. Board, I think the central bank also required that there are some basic board committees that must be put in place and all that, risk management is also very important. Maybe during discussion as we now speak to the specifics, what are they? Put the guidelines in place. And if you have not had a risk management framework, develop one, and then develop a risk management report format for the management to be able to report to the board committees on risk and all that, and begin to analyze that. Staffing is extremely important too. I think I spoke on that. Training, basic training for staff, and also both in our own case, because we're getting bigger, we try to stratify our staffing. Operations. And most of the training, not most, all the training for operations people done by the institute. Now we have mid-level, the area managers, and so there's a combination. The institute does a part of it, and then we get some people in Lagos also do. Then the top one, that's the management, the key people, preparing them for subsection. It's a different, advanced management. In that case, they are no longer at that management level, at that top level. It's no longer about what is microfinance or blah, blah, blah. It's about now try to manage the organization, paying attention to the issue of ethics, governance, and of course, people's management becomes an issue. Engagement of with clients is also important. I know that you organize, customer forum, organize them, train the people, to the management, train your people, to your staff, to be able to really engage. We had a problem in Lapua, which many people, they say we are very tough. The thing came from, it has a history. By 1996, we were 9 microfinance East NGOs in Nigeria. And by age, by size, by everything, Lapo was number 9. That is the last. Okay? And for you to demonstrate that, Ford Foundation was going to give us a grant in 1991. The next to us, number 8, was giving $29,000. And we're giving 20,000. So that tells you, okay. By 2000, so the first thing, almost all of them are gone. 1 to 8 are no longer. And the only reason, the main reason is, how do you, the issue of how do you manage this delinquency. And at that time, my people will say, the people are bad, the borrowers are bad. When we moved from Ogwashuku, that's where I found it to Benin. Benin women are bad and all that. And it got to a point that we needed to do something, which I call the mirror of blame. A mirror is that when you look at mirror, you see the person. So if it's a mirror of blame, then if you look, any person you see inside is the one that is to be blamed. So we were turning it to our women, Benin women. They will say they are the people bad. And I got to a point and said, we'll turn it to ourselves. We'll turn it to ourselves and look at it. And this is what many people don't do. Even in marriages, at home, at whatever, any social grouping, many people are not ready. It's a natural to human being, to times look up and look at the mirror of blame and say, am I not the cause? And we discovered probably we were. And we took some decisions. And those are these decisions because we're a bit spread. You are not spread. So a decision. We never trusted our branch managers. We're having only 7 branches. Guashuku, all those kind, Agbo, and no. We never trust them. So they will bring all the applications. They will come to headquarters. There was one lady. The mother is from Dutch. I say Dutch. The father is from Momoaron. And it was my operation manager, a very strong lady. If we approve, we will send to them, they will say, we now said no. We will trust them. Open an account in Agbo. Nigeria Bank Agbo. Put an account there. Branch manager, you have the check. Now we arrange it. Who we hold the check will not sign. And we did a detailed guidelines. You are the one to go and select these people. You are the one to file the application. You are the one that will approve the application. You are the one that will disburse the loan. If you disburse the loan, you are the one that will do the next thing, collection. And few other steps. And that was what survived us. That out of that 9, all of them are gone. Those ones you see today are small yesterday on. So if they have done, you have seen many, not just Lapo. You have here Fado, which was number 1 in Badon. Farmers Development Union. Co-1, country women, something in Nakure. They would have been the biggest one, not Lapo. So it's important that was how we said, look, we say we agree. We are going to give you loan, but you have 2 obligations. Obligation number 1, use the money well. Number 2, pay. We even supported for obligation number 1. After we disburse 1 week or so, 1 week, 10 days, we go to the shop to see whether it has changed and all that. So efficient information management, that was a big challenge for Lapo. Because we're big, get the right software, the right... No, it doesn't have to be expensive. Basic information that can show you something. Of course, planning is important and review sections. Where are we? Where are we? We must know where we are and where we are almost periodically and see what. Client engagement, support your clients, support them, engage them. There's something two things when I was there is what we call in touch, because we are spread in touch. Every senior manager, I'm not senior manager, member of the executive ESCO and the management is bigger team. You go and work in a branch for about 1 week. Once, it used to be once a quarter, then we say 1 in 6 months. Go and work there. Follow these people to where they go, so that you know, when you are at the meeting you are talking, you know what is happening at the branch. Number 2 was that we had what we call client call. This, in our client relationship department, we generate telephone number, which you can do, still possible. Generate telephone number of your customers. And the top management, I go to they also do a small log and a small set of questions I will ask. I just take the number, one of the number. Sister Caroline, how are you? Sister Caroline, you are a member of Glory Union in Eket. He said, yes, this is Lapo Director. Oh, Lapo Director, how are you? And then we start talking. How is business? What business you are? And all that. Oh, how is Lapo compared to other people? What is the... You just ask those things. And then he said, this is my number. Anytime you call me. Okay. So you just do that. You can still do it now. Somebody just call. How are you? How is your business? You took money from us and all that. I'm not asking you for repayment now. Not this, because of repayment I call you. It's just to say how business and all that. So, which, of course, the final one, I don't need to tell you. Those who used to tell us ourselves in the NGO, charge the market rate, interest rate. Why I still put it here is because of my NGO part. People think that, when it comes to giving money to the poor, it's very emotive. In fact, not only money, anything you relate with poor people is very emotive. When you say interest rate, say, why are you? There was one, it was the founder, I think that was Imo Self-Help Organization in Nkwere, Imo, was maybe number 6 or number 5. It was founded by a venerable Anglican priest. Nice man, cheerful. I said, why Godwin? Why should we even charge these people interest? I said, look, okay, no problem. In fact, by 2005, they were all done, and they asked me to send a manager. Manager went there for 6 months to help them and all that, but I think they've done. I don't know where they are now and all that. So, what is important is this. Finally, to do microfinance, you must do my concept of managing by head and heart. The delicate balance of managing by head, by heart, and head. Managing by heart is like a cheerful. Oh, these people, these people, they are poor people and all that. That is extreme managing by heart only. Managing by extreme head is that it's all about profitability, spreadsheet, calculation, this and that, and that. That one cannot help. What helps is that delicate balance of managing with heart, managing with head. Managing heart is that we will give you some scholarship for your children. That's $10,000. We used to set up a scholarship scheme for the children of our clients. And we have been asking for that money. Almost thousands, I think about 7,000 have gone through. It's not that 1 year. When you take it through. We started with secondary because we realized that children from poor homes usually drop out of education system at the secondary level. And so we started, but university are included. That is hard. Head we did. But the other one is head. The head part of it is that we're giving you money. You have obligation to make a repayment. Thank you so much. So we go to question and answer. Maybe I'll get a chair there. Please sit down, sit down. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. If you have questions now, please indicate, so that you can just take them all and then come up to talk with us. Questions? Any question? Any question? Please raise up your hand. MD? Oh, okay. Good. 3 questionnaires. So,
Thank you very much, sir. I think you're a gift to the generation. The first question, you've almost touched on it. At the beginning of your talk, I noted, I said, how do you strike a balance between compassion and business? Because when you started speaking, I saw a heart of compassion. And as you went on, I also saw a shrewd businessman. So how do you strike a balance? You've kind of mentioned it towards the end. The second question, sir, is I would request you say a little more on how you are able to achieve proper utilization of fund giving and ensuring full repayment.
Thank you so much. The first question is, like I said, we have to apply the concept of delicate balancing between the head and the heart. And so, but if I try to operationalize it, what are the issues? For me, I was really passionate. And I had to caution myself, when I was in university, I belonged to a group, and I led that group to there, and we were organizing symposia, ideological classes, and all that for our fellow students. University of Benin. I was in University of Benin between 77 and 81. And what we believed in was that these were going to be the potential elites, and they are. Most of my friends are ambassador and all that, and and so we need to sensitize them on the condition of the ordinary people. And so when I left university and we're looking for a job, after I got a job, after my period then, I got a job in the civil service, write ASCON, write all this interview, it's a special cadre. And we got to a panel of the commissioner of the Civil Service Commission. And they will ask you, where do you want to be? You want to be administrative officer or what? And I said, I want to be a cooperative officer. And when I came out, the secretary of all those young guys who were covering this thing, were you not properly briefed? As a cooperative officer, you'll be working in rural area. And the admin officer, you'll be in the and all that. I said, yes, I know. Because midway into my study, I did a vacation job in the cooperative office in Benin, vacation job. And I saw what cooperative is. And they aligned perfectly with my concept of how do you develop ordinary people. Cooperative, in the real sense of the word, supposed to be a cooperative society. I think the best definition of cooperative society is an economic association of persons with limited means, underline the limited means, who put their resources together, and from that pool, cooperative members would draw from that pool to meet their respective needs. For me, that aligns with my concept of what it's supposed to be. And so I will just give you a background why my passion, so I was passionate about it. But along the line, I also realized that when the face of that feasibility went away and sustainability, that was where my conversion took place. That if you don't also run this thing professionally, it can also just wither. And like I told you, all of them wither away. And professionally is not just about the charging interest rate, whatever. Professionalism, like trying to do it well. That is, bring it some basic business, something. Even if it's an NGO. In 1998, yes, 1999 or so, the National Association of Small Scale, Small and Medium Enterprises, NASME, they organized an international conference. I was going to talk there. And in my section, obviously, I used to joke with them. They say anything I go to, anything like that, they put me at the last because they say, "Where's the NGO man?" Then I will come. As I left, the chairman of the session was Cecilia Ibru. So as I left, and I started talking. The woman was like, before I came back, she brought her card and put it on the table. And when I came, "Oh, thank you, madam." I went to my bag, brought her our 1998 annual reporter. He said, "I thought it's an NGO. You understand the joke? That you don't have an NGO, we don't have well-written and financial audit." I got the editor in 1991. The standard auditor. So I just to say, let's do it professionally. The staffing, recruitment, and all that. We don't do it. So that was like putting the head to it rather than just, and it helped us to be able. And so at a point, we came out and we were able to, take for instance, the decision for me to take loan. Because all others were taking grant and all that. I said, no, grant will be enough for you to do this thing. But when you want to expand to reach a large number of people, you need loan. And they said I was crazy. And I told my friends internationally, how do you guys do it? They said, Godwin, the donors, their staff, they do by heart, They just come, "God, you are working with women, they give you grants, $50,000 or $20,000. He said, but when you are going for loan, the people will tear you. That is who are going to. And then in March 2002, we got a team from the US, micro rates. They came to Benin. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they turned the organization upside down. On Friday, they were saying, "Oh, Lapo, you are still better than." I said, "No, that's Damien, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear the gaps." He said it will come in the report. They listed those things in the report. We tried addressing them. Within 18 months, we were fine and we started taking loans. And we have never defaulted since 2004 or 5. So that was part of the things that my conversion. But when you get full repayment, I don't always like people to use full repayment. In lending, you are not likely. You aspire as aspiration to get full repayment. There will be, some like that. But it was part of our experimentation. Because I was passionate and because I was not doing it as a business at that point, at a certain point, I was so passionate that my wife said one day, somebody may just meet me on the road and say, "Good morning, Mr. Higamuso." And my response, instead of "good morning," I would say "Lapo." So I was thinking of many things. And that was what we came out, that loan utilization. That you want to make sure that people really use the money. The staff are trying to say, look at it, and then when it comes to loan, we say we'll be doing it well. Like I told you about looking at the people you are really giving the money to. I give you an example. A small girl was putting a group together, training them. And my cousin, distant cousin, we always mention, "I know you're managing director." We mention my pet, the name we are calling ourselves when we were small, and all those kind of things. And she was doing it so much at every training session. That little girl said, "Madam, I will not give you loan. You know my director too much." That girl has cut her problem short. Because she would have taken money and he didn't bring money, you say, "I will talk to your director." So you have to those are some of the things we did. And then you take money, we ask you, okay, you say you don't have. We ask members, we have group leaders. So, but even recently we discovered our group leader were taking many things into their hands and that was giving us some bad something. But we still have to manage that process. So at the end, we had a reasonable repayment something, and it took us up. periodically, you have sometimes something happen like COVID. COVID dealt with us because of the fact that you are using group. When this hysteria, COVID was coming, everybody was like, because we are using group, we quickly stopped group because we thought that can really spread we stopped the group. And that means if you stop group meeting, means you are not collecting. And so we asked Central Bank to give us forbearance and all that. I said no, so I don't qualify and all that. So that, but we are coming out. So it is important. And creativity is important. I know that microfinance is getting a bit stable. When I mean stable, maturity. But during our time, for me, it was always creativity was the major something. It was developing. Most of those things you hear today, power blocks, we call it, they are bankers on the board in our own. We were the one designing internationally. We go to meetings. We call it working groups. Start talking about what it is. So that was how we got to where we are. Any other? Okay. Sit down. Because we are now more or less.
Yeah, let me stand, sir. Okay. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. And number one, I want to thank you for the client call that you mentioned. It's a powerful. I remember many years back when I used to generate contacts and phone number for my MD on his own. We just called them. And that has always been a turning point. So, your MD know me. You see, and that it's a very good learning for us as a member of this team. It works like magic. Magic. The mere fact that the directors will call a client, you are not talking business other than how are you doing? How is your family? Please, this is my number. In case you need me, call me. That helps, and it's something that all of us have to take home. Then my question, sir, is on these delinquencies. It's a very big challenge. And for yes, and for those of us who are involved in credit approval, sometimes we are seen to be too hard. Because if a loan will fail, most times you know from beginning. You know from the beginning. My MD knows very well. When some sleep on my table overnight, he knows that I'm not convinced. But from your experience, how best do we really manage this area? It's an area of personal. I have never approved the credit that failed in my life. So the repayment may be slow, but ultimately they will pay. So you see most of these things by the time you do all the analysis from the presentations, barring any unforeseen circumstances like COVID that affected most of the businesses in 2020, 2021. But most times when you do a proper analysis of credit, you see some signs, indicators that ultimately this credit may not work. But from your experience, how best do you manage? Have you managed that in the past?
Okay, well, I would talk first of all, my early year when I was running, and then that's getting involved directly. Obviously, several years before I left, I was more or less like at the top level. But policy issues and all that. Okay. You said it clearly that I also mentioned that at the beginning is that when a loan will be good or bad, you will know. It's likely going to be. But that can also be compromised by unexpected incidents. Something can happen that you never took into account. You mentioned about COVID, and few other could be something else. Somebody is trying to get, is importing something from use of money to import and all that, and then that's good for whatever reason and all that push away. So you begin by the policy. For us, we deal with very ordinary people, group. Come up with a clear policy that are clear. And the policy, like lenders will always say, is to the extent that you are risk averse. Like you said, those who are praising, I don't like them when I'm dealing with them in the bank we borrow from. They are very hard. Those who are praising the risk manager people, they are like the auditors and all that. They are always seeing that from the beginning. They are telling you why I should not give you this loan. That is their mind. They will not give. So they will tell you, I will not give you this loan, but tell me why I will give you the loan. That is the mindset. Yeah, which is very good. So policy should be very clear and exclude certain areas that are risky. For instance, giving money for somebody to import, any form of importation. Because then giving money for people, which again, if you don't ban it, but you can make strict, giving money to do something for government, either government agency, contract, all those something things and all that. You first of all, in true policy, try to exclude some of those highly you cannot. Because what that says is this, from my experience, is that please be careful with a business that the capacity of that person who takes your loan to be able to repay is almost 100% depending on somebody else. And it's not only on himself, but on somebody else. Somebody else will be that who is to pay something in the ministry or the agency and all that. Or somebody else could be the port managers or whatever. I'm not saying you won't have a situation where those could happen, but you need to look at those areas very well. The guiding list is this. This law I'm giving you, if the capacity to make the repayment does not reside in your own ability or your activity, but completely reside on another person, which you don't even know, then you have to be very careful. I'm looking at policy level, some of those policy level. But on the other hand, for training of staff, we got to a point again by learning, by error, by learning and all that, our experience, is to train the staff to be able to know if there's a default. Whether the default is as a result of inability to repay. That is, there's nothing you can do. The person takes your loan and all that, there's fire, something and becomes this thing, or anything at all, inability to repay, or is unwillingness, due to unwillingness to repay. In that case, that means from all indicators, this person has a capacity to pay your loan, but it's just that it's not willing to pay. Once you are able to say that, and then you begin to take some steps to make sure that you get your money back. Those are some of the things I can share with you. Normally, they said police. Initially, we said, no, we're not going to using police and all that. But let's use our client. Let's, make sure that you make this repayment and all that. And then it works. But now we get to lawyers, too. We have to get the lawyers involved where we have a very serious case. But I want to emphasize that those things are not very tough for us because our loan sizes are not big, and we still work with ordinary people. Like I told you, the really terrible people are people who say they are big and all that, and they take the money they can make. They are the ones that will say, go to court. All right. So, final. Okay, there's another. Okay. Okay, I don't have much today. So.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
Our experience is that we have problem with group lending. Maybe because we're in Lagos, we have more individuals. Most of the group lendings we have problems with them. Most of their group leaders are always taking away the money or doing all sorts of things. I don't know where, maybe because you are in Benin, you succeeded with group lending, but
Okay.
here in Lagos,
Is this work?
it's
Yeah,
not working.
I think, okay, what is your background? Before,
Agric economics,
no. Your career.
banking,
Okay. Commercial.
yes, but
Okay.
I was also in community banking.
Okay. All right. So, because why I needed that is, I agree that, as a practice, group methodology is gradually going away. We know why. People don't have time, to go meeting and feel that they have alternatives and all that. But we use group in Lagos. We use group. We came to Lagos. There's funny things when we were coming to Lagos. First of all, we just said, my audience NGO, I told you, why they were big, they said they are across the country. And in most cases, my book, I put it there, they can get grants. But we said, no, we are just Edo data. We strengthen our system there. By the time we roll out to Lagos, and we were using it. It didn't. So, but since your background is actually all banking individual, and is working for you, you don't need to really bother about group methodology. What therefore is important is to look at those things, look at what we are talking about, strengthen it. That is the risk management part of it, strengthen it, engagement with them, and supportive of them and few other things, that it works. So it's not necessarily because we're in Benin. We have group methodology. We use that. We also do individual anyway. Okay. So what we did, take for instance the fact that when your group, you have leader. You have a leader. Okay. So we have leaders with that. And then we have what we call branch council. That was started in 1994. Branch council is this. If we have 70 groups supervised by a branch, all the leaders of that group, none of them have leader. They are the one that form the branch council. So we have 70 members on that branch council. And they will elect one person as their council leader, and deputy council, another one deputy council leader. And the secretary to that council is our branch manager. So it used to be quarterly meeting, but now put it as again. They discuss. So what we have done is that we try as much as possible to create a movement rather than just forming a group for the purpose of loan. So you must have heard if I could go to market in Benin, but I don't Lagos, I don't know. People are likely going to see me and say Lapo, I will say progress. And they see themselves, when they see themselves, Lapo, progress, Lapo, progress. And so we build that. So this group person is not just a group to take loan. But if you hurriedly put a group together to take loan, those group leaders can be terrible. They take the loan and the group dissolves. So I'm going to Benin. I just support them because I'm no longer. I'm going to Benin this weekend. And on Monday, they said they are holding the branch council leaders meeting in Benin. And you go there, you see how people see as if we are a group, we are a movement rather than just a lending institution. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
I sincerely want to thank you, sir, for coming. We are so blessed. If there's anything I'm taking away from today now, is to make sure that I do some calls too. Yes, and then make sure that we do follow up. Every one of us here, we are so blessed to have you. And I will quickly just introduce to you now members of the board. Please, can you rise up so I can just tell them? That's Deacon Moore. He's from Redeemed Christian Church of God. That is the non-Foursquare member on the board. Yes, and this is Pastor Alex. He's a former national treasurer of Foursquare in Nigeria. And then this is brother, Omofuma, Felix Omofuma. This is the new national treasurer of Foursquare in Nigeria. So they are all on the board. And then that's the managing director, Mrs. Iyabo Bashra. Thank you so much, sir. And that is Mr. Niyi Adebayo. Yes, it's a member of the board. And it's a chartered accountant. And Elder Boye, is also on the board. These are the members of the board. Yes, sir. And I'm the newly appointed chairman. Yes, I'm their servants. They tell me what to do, so I do what they ask me to do. Please, you can sit down. And then members of the management, please, can you stand up? Let me just quickly introduce you. These are members of the management, sir. Okay, you're standing up again. Yes, they are members of the management. She's in internal control. And, risk management, thank you. That's the finance man, the managing director, the head of operations, the credit risk, isn't it? Yes, and that is IT. So these are the members of the board and management of Foursquare Microfinance Bank. And so we are so grateful to have you. And we pray that God will take you higher in Jesus' name. God has already made you an influencer. God will also make your children generationally influencers in Jesus' name. It will not end with you. God will give you a name like Walmart. Walmart is known all over the world. You are still known in Nigeria, but God will do it in Jesus' name. We are so grateful to have you, and we sincerely thank you so much, sir. Yes, please, MD. We have a small gift for you. Yes, please, quickly. Tolu. Yes, sir. So on behalf of the Foursquare Microfinance Bank, we are so grateful, sir. It's a small gift. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
It's on the other side. It's
Yes, sir.
First Stack area, exactly. So we are quite close, and so I'm delighted. I'm really delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Yeah, we can see him off now. Tolu, where are the things?
Thank you, sir.
Doctor, they said they want to have group photograph with you, sir.